drinking buddies. Today we're going to talk about the ugly side of hunting bourbon. Sometimes you land a bottle and you're just not a big fan of it. But hey, I try to be really positive on this channel. For the most part, I don't complain too much about bottles. But hey, at the end of the day, you got to do a top 5 most disappointing bottles of 2021.
I'm your drinking buddy.
Well, drinking buddies, 2021 has come to a conclusion, and I did run into some bottles over the year that I wasn't a big fan of. Some bottles that I feel pretty disappointed by. And, you know, like I said in the intro, I really do try to be pretty positive, but you know, there were a few I got this year that I just can't pass up pointing out that you might want to avoid them. And you know what? If you like any of these bottles, that's great. I'm not telling you you're wrong in any way. These are just 5 bottles that didn't hit for me. Now, before we begin, I want to thank all of you guys who are subscribed to the channel. It really means a lot to me that you do that. I'm on a quest for 1,000 subscribers right now. We're getting close. I really appreciate all of you who've hit that subscribe button. And, you know, if you have time and you're not subscribed to this, you're seeing this video and you find my content entertaining, just hit that subscribe button. It's free. So thank you for that. Now, on to the complaining, which I really don't like to do on this channel. Once again, I really try to be positive, but sometimes you end up with something like Wyoming whiskey. This is aged 5 years, and it's not a terrible bottle. It's not a bad bottle, to be honest. In fact, I feel like it's got a better nose than a lot of the lower-end makers' products. But the flavor's kind of flat. It's kind of one note of vanilla, and then it just dissolves. There's not much of a finish there. I know that they make some other bottles that are really good. This one, for me, they're just standard offering. It was a little bit of a disappointment. Now, I know I'm killing any chance of ever getting a sponsorship by Wyoming by saying this, but I think maybe it might be the fact that it's 88 proof, but it tastes hotter than that as well. For me, this was just a bottle that I felt pretty disappointed by in 2021. It's not a bad bottle, like I said, and if you like this, I'm not saying you're wrong. It just was one that I was a little disappointed in. It's decent. Next up, this Fossil Creek whiskey. Now, I'm actually liking some of the stuff that Adventurous Stills is doing. They have a Peralta bourbon that I really like. The Peralta bourbon's got a lot of chocolate notes. It's made with chocolate malt, and yeah, it's just an interesting bourbon that tastes pretty unique and not like much else. That's this one. Peralta bourbon. I like that one. This one. Oh, it's a really unique mash bill, which is one of the reasons why I bought it. It's corn, wheat, and rye. Now, you'll notice that almost no whiskey, if you look at mash bills around any country's whiskey, you will find very, very few whiskeys, maybe only this one as far as I know, that don't have malt in the recipe. So I saw that and I thought that, wow, that's kind of interesting. I got to see how this tastes. And the answer's not good. This is just not a good bottle. It's got a really off-putting flavor for me. I do not like this bottle, and once again, I'm killing my chances of ever getting a sponsorship from Adventurous Stills. But you know, I like that they got the proof a little higher. Here's 46%, so 92 proof, decent for it. This is their entry-level product, so being at 90 proof, I kind of like that it's, you know, a little bit higher, but just, it's not a very good bottle. Very disappointed by it. All right, next up. I really liked the Oregon Spirits wheat whiskey, so I thought I would try their bourbon whiskey because it's a 4-grain, which I'm interested in, and I think that's kind of cool. It's got a 4-year age statement, and the 4 grains are going to be corn, wheat, rye, and malt. And it's just kind of a mediocre bottle. It's a little bit higher end because it's a little bit higher price because it's a small distiller, but you know, for being 94 proof and being something that's a little bit harder to find because it's a smaller distiller, it's a pretty disappointing bottle when you counter it. That there's just better bottles out there that are half the price, like a Wild Turkey 101. Around this price point, you can get a Bullet 10. Around this price point, you can get a Smooth Ambler Contradiction at 100 proof, which is another 4 grain, something comparable to this. And, it was a disappointment for me. And there goes my chances of ever being sponsored by Oregon Spirits. Next up, we have one that I was a little disappointed I wasn't crazy about. It's a decent bottle. It's going to be the Amador Rye that's finished in port casks. And maybe my expectations were just too high because it was coming off of tasting the Midwinter Night's Dram, and that is one of the best bottles of rye you'll ever taste. But this is rye finished in port casks, and when you put that on your barrel, I'm going to compare it to other ryes finished in port casks that I've tasted, and it just doesn't compare to some of the other things I've had at all. I was fairly disappointed in this one. You guys know I really like the Amador bourbon. It's finished in Chardonnay casks, and the combination of that wheated bourbon with the Chardonnay barrels for some reason comes off like chocolate and wheat and flour, and it gives it a really cookie dough flavor for me personally. But this one, it smells like it's got a good smell to it. It smells like a port. It has a port nose. But it's just very one-note butterscotch, and then the aftertaste is kind of astringent. It's got a not pleasant finish for me. This was one that I'm not crazy about. It's not a terrible bottle. Once again, if you like it, great. Seek it out if you like it. For me, the Amador Rye was one that I was just a little bit disappointed in. And finally, we're gonna get one that's gonna get me some flack in the comments, I think, which was the Larceny Barrel Proof. This B521 was the 2020 whiskey of the year. Now, obviously, 2021's batch is going to be different. It's not going to be quite the same. But this one, for me, sitting at 121 proof, tastes like it's 150 proof. You know me, I like the higher proofs. I like my 131 Stag Junior. I like my, I enjoyed the Jack Daniel's recent release that was 140 proof. I have other bottles that are 120 plus proof. This I could drink all day long. The Knob Creek Single Barrel Proof, 120 proof, could drink it all day long. This to me drinks like I'm drinking lava. It's so hot. It's got such a one-note finish of being just proof, and I don't like that. I want to taste all the subtleties of the proof. I want to taste all the subtleties of those grains. And for me, on this particular bottle, all I taste is the proof. And for me, that's why it's my most disappointing bottle of the year. I would not call it a terrible bottle. I'm not calling it a bad bottle. And once again, if you like it, good for you. But for me, that was my most disappointing bottle of the year. These 5 bottles for me were a little bit of a disappointment. Why don't you in the comments tell me a bottle that was disappointing to you? And maybe in 2022, there will be no disappointing bottles. So far, I have 0 disappointing bottles.